Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cantina Club's Outer Rim. On this episode, we're going to discuss episodes 9 and 10 of The Walking Dead Season 9. This is the return after the mid-season break, and currently we are recording on February 20th, 2019. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, no.
Why don't you stay another day?
No.
Where will you go? Does your journey ever end? Is there peace in time?
All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. We're going to basically jump right in here with a synopsis of episode 9 from The Walking Dead Season 9. The name of this episode was Adaptation, and it's directed by Greg Nicotero, who's had obviously a lot to do with the show, everything from creative director to gore master, if you will, to director, producer, you name it. He's got his fingerprints are all over this show. So starting out with Adaptation, if you remember at the end of episode 8, at the mid-season break, we had the death of Jesus, and that was basically the cliffhanger where we left off.
It felt like 2,000 years ago, didn't it?
It really did. It felt like a longer break than normal. But so basically, we've got Michonne's group leaving the cemetery at the start of this episode. They along the way they encounter another group of whisperers. They capture a young one named Lydia, who will eventually learn her name is Lydia, on their way back to Hilltop. Michonne and Daryl attempt to get answers from this girl without much luck. Although she admits that her mother is still alive and that her people live among the walkers, because she wouldn't actually give them, the numbers that they had. Once she said, "Oh, we're all dead. I don't know," and then she said, "There's 10 of us." So she kept going back and forth about how many there really were, really being very vague about.
Not a reliable witness.
Not at all. So then, in another storyline, Tara agrees to let Magna's group stay at the Hilltop, while Michonne plans to return to Alexandria to warn her people of the new threat of these whisperers. After escaping Alexandria, Negan, if you remember, back in the first half of the season, he escaped. Negan returns to the sanctuary only to find it completely abandoned, thus returning to the comfort of his cell in Alexandria willingly, or so we think.
The comfort.
Yeah.
I like that. It's like it's the Hilton.
So then, basically the cliffhanger.
They left the light on for him.
The cliffhanger for the episode is Luke and Alden are lured into a trap by the Whisperers, and it kind of ends with them being captured. So let's start out with our initial sort of feelings about this episode. Overall, did you like the episode? Did you not care for it? What did you think, Greedo?
Oh boy! So from your summary, if I remember this episode, it was almost felt like a Negan solo episode because it followed what he did after he escaped. A lot of shots of him going from place to place and just kind of his reaction.
Yeah.
To me, this was underwhelming. It was not much of a follow-up to what we saw and what you and Gundark were so impressed with in the mid-season finale.
Mm-hmm.
We did get a few seconds at the beginning in that setting, and I did love the shot of the walkers against the gate, and then one sticks their hand through and opens the latch.
Yeah, opens the latch, yeah.
Yeah. Now, that was cool, and that's the kind of thing I want to see more of with the Whispers.
There wasn't really a payoff for that.
No, I don't know what they're holding back for. I still don't understand what they're holding back for. Yeah. We got one good scene in the mid-season finale, and it's over. I wanted to see more payback for Jesus. I wanted to see a big pitched battle there. I know it costs money. I know there's a lot of logistics and problems involved, but I can't help but think that this is why a lot of people tune in, is for those moments.
Yeah.
That the slow grind of, what people are doing in society and all that is really the payoff is we still want to see them fight walkers. We still want to see them fight enemies. We want to see drama and conflict and melodrama.
Right.
It was over too fast.
Along.
Yeah, it was over too fast, and I don't. Anyway, but overall, since I'm supposed to be saying an overall impression, I was a little bored with this episode. It did do the impossible and make me a little bit more accepting of Negan, because we were just seeing. It reminded me of the Governor episodes where he became Brian, I think was his name.
Mm-hmm.
And you almost felt like he was just a normal survivor before he went crazy again. But I still don't have sympathy for Negan. It's like, why is he still standing when so many better people are gone? But that was the one thing that I took away from this episode, was that I was a little more sympathetic to him. And did it have the scene with Judith at the end where he's coming back on the bike, or was that the next?
Yeah, no, that was the end of this episode. Yeah, Negan didn't appear in episode 10.
Yeah, Judith was good again, solid in this episode. We finally get to see a little more of their relationship, which I know they've had their scenes now, but the first half of the season really felt lacking there. Like, we just they establish it and leave it, and we're just supposed to fill it in with our imagination. I wanted to see more of that to lead us to these moments. Also, how the heck she fired a .357 Magnum at a guy on a dirt bike, and everybody walked away from that one? I have no idea.
Well, don't forget, this is the same little girl who was able to pull off 6 headshots from 600 yards away through a forest.
Yeah, she's sharpshooting Judith Grimes, but there's no sharpshooting that can make a .357 stop a bike, and the bullet goes where? I mean, you telling me the little front shield on that took the bullet?
Well, I don't know. Well, we don't know, honestly.
That should have cut him in half.
Well, do we know that she hit the bike?
I don't know. I thought
maybe she just fired and he just kind of like went off the rails.
It's semantics at that point. Who knows? But
you're gonna freak out.
But she's a sharpshooter and she shot the gun at him. I mean, if she came anywhere near to him, maybe it was a warning shot. You like, maybe just fired it was a warning shot. Exactly. But it looked like he got hit and went off the bike, and that was just seemed like just somewhere to shoehorn a stunt in. It didn't really make sense. It didn't make me think of her as anymore. I knew she was serious before, then she could use a gun. It was unnecessary, and I don't get it. But overall, again, we're supposed to be doing overall right now. Boring. A little bit of empathy for Negan. The Whisperer storyline seems like it's going nowhere fast, and sadly, and when we have our characters we care about in the show, I can watch it. Yeah, we're bogged down with the new characters and new situations that really don't seem like anything all that new. I lose interest. So it's a mixed bag in this episode. Yeah. For me.
Well, for me, I did enjoy the episode. I've been, as I've said before, I've been enjoying the show again since they returned from the mid-season break last season. That to me so it signaled the end of sort of the dead period, no pun intended. Yeah. Of about a season and a half to 2 seasons of just really going down the drain. I thought it's gotten stronger. Now, by no means is it back up to first few seasons. I'm not saying it's back to being great again. It's just back to being that sounds bad to say it's back to being watchable, but
it's the truth though.
But it is kind of the truth.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
no. But
there was times it was very unwatchable.
But I would say overall, I enjoyed this. I think I'm a little more interested in the Whisperer storyline than you are. I agree that it's not really going anywhere fast, but I think that's right now it's going at normal current Walking Dead speed. Sure. They tend to really drag things out.
That's my problem.
Get there.
That is my problem. It's my number one problem of many.
Yeah. So anyway, but again, overall, I did enjoy the episode. I was interested in the whole Negan storyline of him going back to the sanctuary and him just sort of, the whole sort of vibe of him being there and it's completely empty. And he even had his moment where he whistled, just sort of echoed through the empty chamber.
It's over. Nobody responded. That was always their call and response. Yeah, the Negan whistle, and then 100 people would whistle back, and they had his back, or they had power or whatever. Now there's nothing. It's just an echo.
No response. Yeah. And then I really don't know what his end game is as far as coming back. And running into Judith like that, and is he going to willingly? I don't see him willingly going back to his cell.
That didn't make sense, did it? It's almost like someone showed Negan the script and said, "Hey, there's a new threat coming, and they're going to find a use for you, so you better go back." It didn't really make consistent sense. But they have to. This is a hard setting where you've got everybody spread out, these locations spread out. And at points in the storyline, it's going to demand that certain characters are together. So you've got to move them back that direction, whether it makes sense or not. Which 9 times out of 10, I'm sorry, it doesn't make sense. We see that over and over again. Another of my major issues with this show is the logistics and how it impacts the characters and the characterization. The characters looking frankly dumb because they just have to move from point to point for no reason, just willy nilly.
I agree. No, I agree. Impressions of Lydia.
Lydia is the Whisper Girl.
Yes.
Well, first off,
and sort of the give and take she had with Daryl and Henry in this episode.
Okay. Well, I thought that was pretty good. But the crux of the entire episode and pretty much a lot of the next one is built on that. And Daryl is the only character that I really feel like I know. And my main takeaway is that I'm so glad that Daryl's a normal human being now, or as close as he can get to one. They acknowledge that he's an outsider and he's been altered, and he's not ever going to be. He's like the cat that comes in from outside. There's always going to be part of him outside. He's always going to want to go back outside. He doesn't fit in the house, the nice house or whatever. But I love that he makes sense now. I could never, for years, I could not understand what Daryl was thinking, what he was there for. He really was there just to slouch on his motorcycle and to follow Rick's orders, And then they put him at odds with Rick for really no reason. But now he seems like his own person. He's reminding me of Daryl from season 1 and 2. Where he had no trouble speaking. It's like he developed a speech impediment somewhere in the middle of the show. Now he can talk again, and he's not like hiding behind his hair. He's speaking out loud. It's like, I love that, man. So, but really, the improvement of the character doesn't. Sometimes we look at something like that and we go, "This is great," when really it's just an improvement. Anything was better than what we were getting. So I don't think anything he's saying is particularly fantastic. But the fact that he is being consistent from episode to episode and fulfilling his role and acting like a real person instead of some.
And I like the fact that they're actually giving him dialogue now, because he basically went for 2 seasons and would say 3 lines of dialogue for an entire season. That was one thing that I really resented the makers of the show, the producers, for turning him into basically a tertiary character almost in a lot of ways. I didn't like that, because from day one, Daryl's been one of the more interesting characters on the show, and I've always kind of liked it. So I do like the fact that they're kind of thrusting him into this sort of leadership role. Granted, it's against his will. He doesn't ever want to lead. He's not that kind of guy. He, like you said, he's kind of like the stray cat in the street, and that's where he's happy. But yeah, overall, I'm happy with where his character is right now and how he's evolved. One thing I think is missing is just, and then this has been a problem for me for the last 2 to 3 seasons, that everybody's just so spread out. It's like, when was the last time we saw Ezekiel and Carol and these people, these other characters? It's like, it's been 4 or 5 episodes now, hadn't it?
And the pacing is, I'm sorry, the pacing is rotten. It's still bad because
it's just slow.
I did not need 45 minutes of Negan walking through the different sets. That's what I got. Negan's not that deep a character. Sorry, he made dick jokes the whole time he was bashing people's brains in and stealing people's wives. He's not going on a deep spiritual journey. He's just confronting the fact that things have changed, and we got 45 minutes basically of him walking around. And I love Jeffrey Dean Morgan, but this character, as much as they're winning me a little bit to his side, he's still a waste.
Yeah.
He's an alpha. He's an alpha male, violent character who's supposed to have clever dialogue and win you over with his charisma. Well, the clever dialogue's been in short supply. They kind of broken down his charisma, and there's no opportunity for his trademark violence and leadership here. We need to get him. We need some conflict. I feel like this episode is just lacking. It's psychological warfare. They have a girl in a cell, and it's like figuring out whether she's telling the truth or not and all that. That's all fine and well, but this is still a survival show. This is still at its core, action and violence and horror and
conflict.
Yeah, and I was disappointed with this with Lydia in a way, not the actress or anything, but that there was nothing particularly horrifying about her.
Yeah.
I understand you pull the mask off and they're just people,
Yeah.
but that reveal to me came too quick after they just were revealed what they were, and they just killed Jesus, and we captured this cowardly girl who, she at least had the sense to see that they were all being killed. A lot of them were trying to keep up their Walker act for no reason when it's blatantly obvious these are hardcore killers you're up against who are going to take out all your Walker friends and you if you don't change tactics. But they still, until Daryl shot one in the leg, he was still pretending he was a zombie, which was just dumb. So at least she, got down her knees and said, "Hey, I give up." She did something smart, but it wasn't threatening. And seeing who she is and stuff, I expected there to be a reveal of the horror. This is like Texas Chainsaw Massacre territory. People wearing human skin, and so far there's really been nothing horrific about it. So I was disappointed in that. And
I think it'll get there though.
And who's Carol's son, Ezekiel's son again?
Henry,
right. Henry seems back and forth so far. I get it. He's kind of the naive newbie or whatever, and he's learning to navigate people and everything like that.
Right.
But I'm not. There's some inconsistency there. Yeah, but there's
a next episode.
Yeah, the next episode too. It's kind of they're intertwined. There's some inconsistencies there that you don't know whether to really be annoyed with him or to be on his side. And I would like to know at this point. I would like to know a little bit more. I am sick of all the teen characters being very annoying though. So at least he has a good side that you can get behind him some.
Right.
But that dynamic was cool. I thought it was cool that Daryl stayed true to his character. He didn't torture anybody, and he was smart enough to figure out what was going on and apply his own tactics. But not strong enough to carry a whole episode, that dynamic with those three characters, because there was no tension. The pacing was bad, and we're intercut with Negan, and Negan doesn't carry a whole episode walking around by himself either, in my opinion. So anyway, was the weakness of this episode to me. Was there's no dread. I really, the Whisperers were bringing some dread and fear of the Walkers again. It's been diffused, I feel like, way too fast. And I'm just trying to hang on and see what's going next.
I'm not so quick to say that. I think it's going to go. I think they're going to ratchet up the tension.
Well, they better get started. How many episodes are we in now?
Yeah,
that's my problem with this show, man. It's like it's half over and two things happen. Then it's fully over and four things total in a season happen. Yeah. It's like Jesus being killed off was our big thing, and revealing the Whispers. Well, how many more people are you gonna kill off? I have a feeling they're just getting started, but that's the trademark of this show, and that's not even a surprise anymore. When Jesus was killed, I was like, I guess
really?
I guess he's the next one to die.
That was the first jaw-dropping moment I've seen in 2 seasons on the show.
Yeah,
I really thought they did that well. We completely disagree on that.
Yeah, to me, it's the history of this season. The weak parts of the season have been the mouse traps in every single episode, which they've stopped now. But where you blatantly put someone on the other side of glass and there's zombies wanting to eat their face on the other side of glass, and you're like, oh, when is the glass going to break? You know, like the whole episode, they set these little mouse traps up. So that's how they've been creating tension of who's going to die and which one of these traps is going to catch someone.
Yeah.
Well, that's not, I don't know how to say what I'm saying, but I want more tension than that. I don't want these contrived situations. There should be some actual drama behind this stuff and not just coincidences and accidents and the scenario bringing the drama. You walk into a place where there's an anvil hanging over when's it going to fall? There's only so many times you can do that. You do that every single episode. Anyway.
Yeah, I got you.
And also, like, a lot of this episode occurred on Hilltop, right?
Yeah.
I still don't know anyone at Hilltop. The blacksmith guy, and he's been dropped. Blacksmith and his wife.
We haven't seen him for a couple episodes.
Why did they get so much screen time if they're nowhere to be found?
If they're not going to be used.
Yeah, and why aren't they a doorway to other residents of Hilltop? To use them to introduce us to people who know them and stuff. And even the guy who used to be a savior, who's now with, is it Tara that he's with, or who was he with? No, it was the other girl. I'm so bad with the names.
Rosita?
Not Rosita, because Rosita's with Gabriel. The young girl.
Rosita, well, kind of. Well,
yeah.
Eugene. And although that's another thing we didn't cover because she basically is...
the young girl who was with Carl. who was going to be.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
Yeah. But anyway, her boyfriend, who was a savior, he's the only Hilltop. Enid, yeah. This is the only kind of newer Hilltop person that I halfway know, and I have a feeling he's just freaking dead. He walked right into a trap like a dumbass at the end of this, and I wish Gundark was here to tell us what she thought of the. She loves the photography and stuff in these episodes.
Yeah,
it was a cool moment when the music teacher and the former savior were suddenly surrounded, like the whispers just seemed to appear, like they multiplied every time it cut back. I mean, that was a little bit frightening.
Yeah,
but again, too little, too late, and not enough horror there. I just didn't really feel it. And the only reason these people were out in jeopardy was because there was some miscommunication by a few minutes where they went looking for somebody who was already back and safe. As far as I can tell, they were the only ones who didn't know this. So people are just running back and forth. There's no system for keeping, people safe or anything. And they assume like, oh, it's, we can do what we've always done. When the Saviors were disbanded, were all other evil. What about the Wolves? What about groups like the Wolves? Nobody acts like that's even a threat anymore. And I don't understand why. I know it's been years, and maybe they just haven't seen any other groups of people like that. But
yeah, and if I'm remembering correctly, the Wolves were actually down around the Atlanta area versus now they're up in Alexandria. So that could be
I thought they attacked Alexandria at one point, though.
Maybe
it wasn't. There was a group like the Wolves that attacked Alexandria and came in, remember?
Yeah,
and
I don't remember. That might have been Alexandria. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen those episodes, so I'd have to go back and rewatch.
Yeah. So there's been bad guys all around, and it's almost like these people are just wandering around like they don't expect to run into anyone bad. After our whole history with this show is that 90% of people out there are bad. So, so anyway, what did you like?
A news note that I meant to mention at the beginning. I don't know if you heard, but Denai Guerrera, Michonne, the actress, has announced that the season 10 is her last.
So we're in 9 now. So she's going to do
9 now. Yes, and they even said that next season she's going to be in a limited role. So
what is she now?
Everybody to me is in a limited role right now.
Yeah,
but
there's been no lead character since Rick left. I mean, I know it's been quick, but they've killed off Jesus, who was a potential. They don't give enough screen time to everyone for it to be a true ensemble, I feel like. And they're focusing on Daryl. And I think he even gets top billing in the credits. Norman Reedus. And they're doing a good job there. But they have built his character to where it is essential that he has other people to interact with.
Yeah, agreed.
He has come across as such a kind of reactive versus proactive character for so long that he really needs people and situations to react to.
Right.
He's not the strong leader that Rick and he doesn't have the motivations that someone like Glenn had, So anyway, what did you since you liked the episode, what did you like about it? Let's focus on the positive here, just real quickly.
What I liked about it was, I don't know, honestly, it's a lot of the things you didn't like. I liked a little bit of focus on Negan. I didn't feel like you were saying, it was just like 45 minutes of him just wandering around. I didn't take it that way. I actually enjoyed seeing him walk around and do that stuff. To me, before we get done with the next episode, I do have a prediction that kind of surrounds around his character that
what's going to happen to Negan
last night. Yeah. But anyway, I liked the closure on Jesus. We got, they actually buried him. They brought his body back and they buried him. And they even made the reference to the fact that it's not like Rick. They didn't get that closure with Rick. He just basically vanished and they never saw him again. I like that. I did like the new character of Lydia. I like the interplay between her and Daryl.
There was nothing wrong there.
I knew where it was going. Again, like you said, though, there really wasn't that much tension because you kind of knew what was going to happen. But I still enjoyed the interplay, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So again, overall, I like those things about it, and I'm still just very excited, to be quite honest, about the storyline that we're starting with the Whispers. I really think I know it's not going anywhere yet, but I really think it's going to go somewhere. I really think it's going to be big time.
I just thought that so often in the past.
Well, maybe so.
And look at the build up to Terminus. And that was all of 2 episodes. One episode when they got there, and then a conclusion episode.
And then bang, it was done.
Yeah, the red handled machete put an end to that real quick.
I really thought that was going to be. Honestly, I thought that was going to be the setup for the whole next season when they were doing that.
Yeah.
And instead, they just like, and we're done, and we're gone again. It's like, wow.
Serious pacing issues, which I feel like have to come back to budgeting, don't they?
Yeah,
because
sure
your budget.
AMC is notorious for
Yeah.
budget cutting and being very stingy, even with their most popular show that they've got is Walking Dead.
Yeah, which
I
shows they don't care about their
stingy.
legacy at all. They only care about what's popular right at the moment and cashing in on it, I guess, or drawing it out as long as they can. They need to pay attention because this show won't be here. A lot of shows don't make it 10 years. A lot of shows don't make it 11 years, and you mismanage it, and the people will leave, and all these plans they have will be for nothing if they don't deliver right now.
Yeah. All right, so let's jump into episode 10.
Real quick before you do that, what would you rate this one? Since we've been rating the ones in the past on a 1 to 10.
Well, what's our scale again?
1 to 10.
1 to 10. I would say I would give this episode about a 6.5.
Okay, I'm right there with you. I think 5.5 or 6. And the last little comment: did you catch that Negan was throwing up in that setting where he
killed Abraham and Glenn? Yeah.
Did you catch that when you watched it?
I did not. No.
I actually did because I feel like that clearing is just burned in my brain of all the useless knowledge that actually is in my brain. That's
maybe
one of the most useless things. It looks so different
because it's in the daylight. I didn't.
Well, when I recognized it was when they did the crane or pull away shot where he's kneeling down and you saw the trees and the whole layout of that thing. That's the same as the shot they used when the survivors all picked themselves up and there was the two bloody spots on the ground where they had been killed and they're all dragging themselves away. That's the exact same framing and everything. So yeah, I got it.
Yeah, and I heard they did that on purpose. Yeah, that they did
of course.
That crane shot on purpose.
It's a spiritual exorcism. It's a spiritual exorcism where he's symbolically and literally paying for his crimes in the same spot. He's kneeling, he's powerless, and he's throwing up all the negativity and everything is coming out of him.
Exactly.
We'll see.
All right, so okay. So
one good Dick joke, and I think he's back to being Negan myself. But and if you give him Lucille back.
Okay, so on to episode 10, which is called Omega. So Henry and Lydia grow closer in the cells. She reveals events of her past following the onset of the outbreak, which of course all this is shown through flashbacks. Henry is released from his cell by Daryl when he feels that the boy is revealing too much to Lydia about themselves, because he starts telling her about the kingdom and about all these different places where they live. So, of course, Daryl comes in and shuts that down. After aggressively interrogating her, Daryl takes a softer approach with Lydia after realizing that she's a victim of abuse at the hands of her mother, which, of course, he came from an abusive upbringing as well. So despite the risks, Magnus Group searches for Luke against Tara's orders. They abandon the search after realizing it's no longer safe. The next day, a group of Whisperers arrives at the hilltop, and this is the cliffhanger, led by Lydia's mother, who is Alpha, which we learned during the show, and she demands that her daughter be returned. So I enjoyed the flashbacks. I liked the way they did them because they were showing them it from the different perspectives. They showed, first of all, the version that she was told, and then they showed the totally different version, which was the reality. So
it was her thought process as she's recalling this stuff and probably talking about it for the first time since it's all happened.
Right. Yeah, exactly. In 10 years, basically. Yeah. Basically about 10 years now since the apocalypse broke out. And I like the fact that they went back to the beginning of the apocalypse because it's been a long time since they've gone back and taken us there. And I
even if it was a basement.
Well, yeah, even though it was just a basement. But it was just the fact that
everybody had the same boards in the apocalypse that you board your windows with.
It's just another perspective on the start of the apocalypse, and I enjoy that. So
there's always that idiot who wants to pull the boards down in any apocalypse, like, get me out of here, and pull the barricades and boards down. It's like those magical boards that keep everything at bay, and as soon as you start tearing this down, everything's going to go to hell.
It's all going to hell.
There's that one idiot who caused that to happen. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Exactly. No, you're fine. So I like that, and again, kind of like in the last episode, I did like the interplay between Henry, Daryl, and Lydia. Again, you're yelling. It's one of those moments you're yelling at the screen, Henry, you're an idiot. You gotta let it play out because you got to keep in mind, this kid's about 17 years old, and
also it's working,
and he's hormonal. It's working. It's getting the information out of her. Not that he's doing that. I mean, he's not trying to do that for Daryl's sake.
No, it's specifically his inexperience. They know a seasoned interrogator's getting nothing from her, so they're letting just nature take its course, and it's working. So he's actually the perfect person to do it, even though he is annoyingly naive and kind of dumb.
Right, exactly.
It works in this situation to the good guy's advantage or whatever.
Right, exactly. So, so I enjoyed that. My big problem with this episode was Magna's group and their knee-jerk reaction to trying to go find their friends in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
With a deaf person. It's like,
so you're blind and deaf now.
And here's the thing: it says not only was that just a horrendously stupid idea, they go out and within 5 minutes they're like, "Oh, this was a terrible idea. Let's go back. Oh wait, no, let's split up and leave the two weakest members by themselves, and we'll hook up with you tomorrow." I was like, that whole thing was just like, come on. That was just really
and then I guess we should say, I mean, it's obvious we're covering this stuff, spoilers, I'll put it in the description of the video, but is there a connection there that the two characters who are left outside, one of them is the one that ends up separated at the end of the episode, coincidentally, the one who's kind of in the guardian role or whatever ends up, so leaving you to think something happened that night when they're alone, where perhaps a deal was struck or I don't know what. Which doesn't make sense because both characters return unharmed, and you would think that would never be the case if the deal was struck. But it is a strange coincidence that they're out there by themselves all night, and then one of them just happens to lag behind when the bad guys show up. Yeah. So,
but I mean, in a way, not to be an apologist, but in a way, I can see you relaxing your guard at that point. Because you've been out all night, you've been tense, and now you're literally within sight of Sanctuary. Right there. That's the hilltop, right there.
I'm just saying. What was the point? What was the point of that scene that you said you were criticizing? Unless something happened that we weren't let in on. The only way to redeem that scene is that something happened that we weren't let in on. It still is irredeemable because it's just irredeemably dumb for them to do that. It's like their desire to not be seen by their new community leaving was stronger than their desire, to do things in a sensible way. We're going to look for our friend in the dark, just to avoid being seen. It's like nobody's holding them prisoner there. People come and go whenever the hell they please. So you just go say, look, we know you made a call, but that's our friend. We're going to find him. And we don't come back. It's not your fault.
At the end, when she comes back, Tara says, next time, just talk to me.
Which
not, just why sneak out in the middle of the night? You don't need to do that.
Yeah, you're not being held prisoner. It made no sense.
Exactly. You're not escaping from prison to do this.
So that was your number one issue of
that was my big problem with this episode. Yeah.
Did you like the whispers showing up at the end and the reveal and we were kind of talking about the flashbacks and all that. So you that worked for you. You're like looking forward.
That worked for me. I thought that was really interesting. And I'm still interested in the storyline. I think it's going to go somewhere. And I'm interested to see where they're going to take it next. I have a feeling next episode might be another notch up.
Why do you think Alpha cut her husband's throat, or the father of her child? I don't know if it was her husband or not, but that's what happened. Right? At the end, it's revealed that she pinned him down and told him to hush or whatever, which is her big thing, and she cut his throat.
Because she's absolutely bonkers crazy. I really do. I just think
cutting her hair off was like saying I'm done with the old world, and then getting rid of the dead weight is her final act.
That was her separation. I'm cutting my hair off, and then next thing you know, she's killing him.
Yeah, she probably wanted to do that for a long time, for whatever reason.
Right. Yeah. That's the sense I'm making of it anyway.
Okay, so the two plots in this were the Henry and Lydia relationship with Daryl mixed in there, and then the new group deciding to go out, and at the end we get the simultaneous reveal of how nasty this mother figure is, and the whispers just surprisingly show up at the door, and even though Lydia said she's not coming, Alpha asks for her daughter back. And I did detect Southern accents going on there.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Which the whole Texas Chainsaw Massacre thing.
Yeah.
It is, of course, they're going to be Southern people, of course.
Yeah.
Southern people are the ones that wear human skins and make furniture and stuff out of body parts. This happens all the time. Southern people are the last bastion of just humans that we can just bash relentlessly.
Still bash repeatedly.
Oh yeah, there is no Southern, Southern poor person response group to try to stick up for people. It's like every sheriff is a bumbling, freaking racist, misogynist idiot, donut eating idiot. When you go to a Southern town.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So. Skipping a little bit here, what would you rate this on a 1 to 10? This episode for you?
This one, I would say I would give it about a 7.
It's a little better than the last one.
Yeah, a little better than the last episode. I thought it was a little bit of about a half step up.
I think a lot of this episode hinged on how you reacted to this reveal over the episode of the Alpha character, because that was the crux of this. The filler was the Luke story, where these people aren't going to find Luke because he's already been captured.
Right.
And obviously they're not going to find him, so this is going nowhere. So to me, that whole thing was there just to give that one actor the emotional scene about Luke was the one that found me, and to show you how the group dynamic works with these people, that they're strong and don't give up on each other. They have no sense, evidently, but they don't give up on each other. Right. And it was there to give, try to connect us with these characters a little bit. I think with some filler time that they didn't know what to do with. Didn't work for me, but because I was too thinking about why are they so down on my guests? Why are they doing this? And they're new. They're still new, and they have some fighting skill. I'll give them that. Yeah. But yeah, going out in the dark with a couple of deaf people or whatever, I'm not sure if they're both deaf, but so where everyone is basically blind and now half the group is deaf, suicide, just like unbelievably bad. So anyway, getting back to my point, this reveal of Alpha didn't work for me. Okay. I'm the opposite of you. I was on the fence with the Whisperers. I was almost more intrigued with the idea that walkers were evolving and remembering speech patterns and stuff. I know that's a dumb idea, but I want some horror back, and these Whisperers just seem really dull to me. Like, they do not seem like a threat at all so far. They just walk out in the open. If you have a machine gun like they had a few years ago, they had a freaking heavy caliber machine gun. You take them all out right there, threat over. Where's their mystical power to control hordes and stuff? Because they were basically making the horde do what they wanted. When there's fireworks and sounds going off that would normally distract a horde, somehow they're bending them to their will, which has not been explained. And I don't understand, and it doesn't seem to make sense. And they don't seem horrifying to me. When you pull their masks off, they're just kind of rednecks or whatever. And it reminds me of that Cabin in the Woods movie where they draw lots to see what monster would show up and attack the cabin, and it was inbred zombie redneck family. That was the one they drew. And the guy said, "Wait, I had zombies in the office pool. How come I don't win?" They go, "There's a difference. It's inbred redneck zombie torture family." That's what it was. It's not just zombies. So hooray, they're different. They're an inbred redneck torture zombie family. But anyway, I don't find them threatening. This reveal to me was underwhelming. From the first 2 seconds, she's recounting her story, and the father goes, "This is what you liked. I never liked it." And he's cutting his beard off. I go, "That's the mother. That's not she's recounting this wrong. That is not the father. The father is not the jerk. It's the mother." So I knew within the first 5 seconds. And so the reveal was like, it was just completely underwhelming. Nobody's fault necessarily, but I think this goes back to our discussions on some of these episodes where elements for me just don't come together quite right. And it's a very tricky process, I'm sure. Yeah. And this stuff just didn't come together right, and the pacing to me is awful, god awful in this series, and just getting worse. And I don't find them a threat, and I don't care what happens next. So
Yeah, we could not be more
I am
diametrically opposed on this.
I am almost completely off at this point. Like sadly, I hate to be the negative Nancy, but I would give this episode like a 3.5 out of 10, probably. I'd be generous because Henry and Daryl and Lydia were okay. And that part of it at least stayed consistent. But again, Henry is all over the place. Like 1 minute they're taunting the audience. They know the audience loves Daryl. So 1 minute he's defying Daryl and saying, "You're an a-hole." And so instantly you know the audience hates Henry. Well, then they come back 15 minutes later and he goes, "I'm glad you and my mom are friends." And so everybody's like, "Oh, Henry." You know, everybody loves him again because he's on Team Daryl. Right. So I don't know what's going on with that. It's very manipulative and weird. And the actor, though, has a strong profile, Henry. And so I'm waiting for him to claim his own. And he has a naivety that I hope is rewarded. I did my one thing that I liked in this episode was that Lydia seemed to actually come around. She wasn't putting on just another sinister act like we've seen over and over and over again.
No, I agree. It looked like it was going that route, but then I think by the end she was legitimately the baby crying, and it literally seemed to kind of just snap her out of this brainwashing that her mom's put her
this
through.
Is setting up the conflict now. We didn't really have a conflict. We didn't know what the Whisperers wanted. Right. All they said was, "You don't belong out here." Well, they seem happy. So are they moving in and trying to take over? I thought that was going to be the conflict, but now it seems like the conflict is it's the old road warrior. Somebody behind a barrier has something that the wildlands barbarians want, and they're going to surround it and cause all this horror to happen in order to get what they want. Yeah. And I just don't find it intriguing anymore. It's the same scenario we saw at the prison. It's it's just been repeated over and over and over again. And there's nothing special about the Whisperers to me anymore. The buildup was so long, and so it's nothing special about them. So sadly, I really want to be in on this, but I mean, we can guess what's going to happen next. They're going to execute the prisoners in a horrible way, just like the governor did. Just like every villain of the week or the year does, or whatever. It's not horrifying anymore. I really wanted them to use walkers in some new way, as weaponize them in a way we haven't seen, and really bring a power struggle of the dead versus the living. But they don't. Just calling yourself alpha and just kind of like the garbage people talking in a weird way doesn't represent a culture to me. It's like that's just a weird thing the writers came up with. It doesn't connect. Calling yourself alpha and walking around with zombies makes no sense. There's nothing there. Why would there be a culture of people doing that? That makes no sense. Why wouldn't you join the settlement? You're walking around with zombies. You can't. I mean, and you just have a mask on. The zombies are gonna. How dumb are the freaking zombies now? I mean, how could you pull that off? And when do you eat? When do you communicate? When do you talk? I don't get it. And then you magically control hordes and zombies do your bidding. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. There's so many things in this show that they've never explained, they've never made sense, and we're just piling them on at this point. And again, what's special about them? It's just another confrontation with wild people who are for chaos and exerting their own power versus people trying to be decent. And when you go to sleep and you have an aneurysm, you become a zombie. So what's the point? That's where the show went off the rails, when they made everybody have this mysterious zombie virus that behaves like no virus known to man ever, and so everyone's doomed. So why are you building a society? Because I don't see them strapping themselves into bed at night. So as soon as somebody dies in their sleep, it's over. We've seen it again and again, and they've learned nothing, and they're running all over the countryside. People just going for no reason back and forth in the middle of God knows what's going on. And I don't see characters for episodes on end that I want to see. They're not working together. I don't know who the lead is anymore. I don't know who the ensemble is anymore. And if they start killing off the characters that they just introduced, I don't even care about them really yet. It's
no, I don't either.
So is the power of the show just in just killing people, killing the characters? Is that all we got left? Isn't it time to turn the corner and do something else?
Yeah, you'd think. And I kind of had held out hope that they were going to go that route with Carl, like they did in the comics, where he kind of grew up and led the next generation.
I haven't read that part. I only read past the prison in the comics.
Okay, yeah, I haven't read any of it. I just hear this from my friends who do read it, because I don't care about the spoilers on that. And that's why they were all kind of
shocked that Carl...
Semi-shocked that they killed off Carl, because he's basically the crux of the rest of the novels.
And then not only that, but they kill off Carl, then they flash forward 6 years. So if the actor was a problem, why didn't you recast him at that? Why didn't you use the opportunity to recast
the actor
him?
as an older
Carl? Yeah, and keep a connection with this. It's supposed to be about a family and a group that becomes like family surviving, and you just killing them all off. And then I know they're just leaning on the comics too much. Like all these new characters, people say, "Oh, that's my favorite character from the comics." You know, one of the new ones. Well, I don't know them. I don't read the comics. They need to stand on their own on this show. You know, and so far they're kind of dumb. They don't. They're not giving us much to work with on them, and they make dumb decisions. Everybody makes dumb decisions.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll stop going on, but I'm at a low point right now, like really low.
Okay.
Like,
I see that. Yeah, I'm like
show makes no sense,
I'm
and
going
it's
the
boring.
opposite direction. The
cardinal sin is boring, you know. And when you make no sense and you're boring, you're done. You know, you're done. I don't even care about this whispers confrontation. It's stupid. If one person had a rifle, it's over. Just shoot Alpha right between the eyes. Just get this over with. Why try to deal with these people? They're rabid. You know, they're insane. You don't wear human skin, no matter the scenario. You know, that's pretty much a deal breaker right there. You know, you're wearing human skin. We're not going to listen to your case. You're finished. and but again, who's in Hillside? Who's in Hilltop? Who's in Alexandria now? Who's at the king? There's like 2 people left at the kingdom. I don't understand the stakes anymore, and I don't understand the world, and I don't know any of the characters.
Yeah, and they haven't bothered to explain.
Kind of at a loss here.
Yeah, they haven't bothered to explain what's going on with what happened with Michonne, because obviously some big thing happened to create this rift where every time she comes around, everybody looks at her with suspicion.
And can you tell me...
They don't want her there. They haven't something happened within that 6-year time jump.
When are we going to get that? 2 years from now, and it doesn't matter anymore? Are they going to explain it?
Right. I don't know. That's the thing.
And why did the Whisperers pursue their group in the first place? Are we just going to throw that under the carpet? What is their motivation?
According to what Alpha said there in the last scene, is that they went into their territory.
Okay. Their territory is a day and a half away from all these settlements. Why don't they go elsewhere?
And
hordes go where they want.
To Lydia,
you're traveling with a horde. Does the horde have a territory it stomps around in? I doubt it. You probably travel across the whole country if you stick with the horde. If you're just walking, like emulating the walkers.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. But they relentlessly pursued them. And then they killed their leader, Jesus, which is a slap in the face. It's like saying, we want to fight you.
Yeah.
And asking for retaliation. If you want to lay low and survive, why are you elevating your profile and attacking, you know, high-profile members of people you don't even know who they are and how much weapons they have and what their retaliation is going to be?
Right.
This whole thing's to me is a wash right now.
No.
Please, someone save it. At least just give me some action again. You know, something. Let's get on with it. You know.
So,
but I know nothing's going to happen until the last 2 episodes of this season. We're on a formula here. The formula is the most important thing. Go ahead. I apologize.
Okay. So, for my first words in 20 minutes. No, I just want to wrap it up with my prediction. And this may be crazy, I don't know, but I just kind of started thinking about this the other night when watching this latest episode, that I have a feeling that the only reason, first of all, there's no reason in the world why Negan should still be around.
No.
His character was long dead in the comics.
I didn't even know he died in the comics.
To me, according to the friends I had that read the comics, they said the Negan storyline was like this. It was like a tiny, quick little. There's Negan. He kills a couple people, and boom, it's dead. He's dead. It's over. You know. Whereas in the show, it's like stretched out to like 3 seasons. They think
he's the superstar of the show.
Right.
The whole show.
But my prediction is they're keeping him alive at this point, so that Alpha is going to somehow, for some reason, Alpha is going to end up killing him. And I think they're doing that because they're going to try and establish her as, I'm a bigger baddie than Negan. You know, for the not that that's necessarily going to work, because of course Negan now is by no means Negan from 2 seasons ago.
Right.
You know, so it doesn't necessarily work. But we're not there yet. Maybe Negan somehow gets back to his, you know, gets back some of his strength and some of his, maybe he finds Lucille, and this invigorates him with, the lust to kill again. Who knows? But somehow I think anyway, that's just my prediction, that I think that ultimately Alpha's going to take Negan out, and then that's going to try and establish, at least in the viewers' minds, or the writers are trying to establish that, okay, she's even badder than Negan because she can take him out.
Right. That would be an obvious way to go, and that could be the way they're going. My first impression or prediction would be that he's going to die protecting Judith, because the irony there of he develops a relationship with the spawn of his mortal enemy or whatever, and the father figure's gone, so he's going to sort of step in and be the bad uncle or whatever, but protect the girl, and protect Rick Grimes' legacy in a way. So even though they were enemies and he actively worked to destroy Rick Grimes' legacy, I think the irony of his final act will be that he will preserve it, which he was supposed to probably do with Carl. They hinted there was a relationship there. They never delivered on it. And also I do think about Negan, the other possibility could go is that these communities could go, you were a savior, how about saving us? We're going to give you we're going to pardon you or commute your sentence if you take that baseball bat and go wail on these people,
exactly,
and put him in charge of, like giving a purpose to people that want to fight still and that are violent and that don't have a place really, and give them a conflict to fight. And maybe that'll give him some kind of redemption. But he should die, and he will die for sure. But unfortunately, his character kind of ate the show, and there's no, I don't know, there's any going back from that. That whole thing. But Rick's gone. Those were true. That was the relationship. He's gone. So
okay. Any final thoughts on this? Because probably should go ahead and wrap it up. We got about
3.5 on the second episode. 5.5 on the first.
I'd say about a 7 on this one. And,
I'm very underwhelmed, obviously, from everything I said.
What's that?
I'm very underwhelmed, obviously, from everything I said. Okay. I've been with this show from the very first day that it was broadcast, and I'm not happy.
Yeah, I'm very, very interested in where this is going. I'm a little bit more optimistic, a lot more optimistic.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll see where it goes. But thanks for watching,
I hope you're right,
everybody. And we will see you next week for episode 11. Take care.